We're repairing 13-inch MacBook Air today, which all it works okay. Couple keys on the typing, trackpad is alright. This is all done after liquid damage. So you can see liquid was spilled about 2 days ago, and it's still quite wet inside. And you can see the oxidation over here. So this is the main controller board, which connects the trackpad here to the keyboard, which goes back straight into the logic board. So most likely this corrosion over here interferes with the keyboard controls. Also, we want to make sure that there's no liquid corrosion under the trackpad. Apart from that, the board itself looks perfectly fine. So let's get it out and test further. Yeah, you can see the oxidation over here on the trackpad. So we really want to clean this one before it completely fails. Alright, so let's clean the trackpad. You can see the oxidation there. So we want to make sure that we get rid of that residue. Because when liquid dries, it turns into this oxidation spot residue, which then corrodes through the components. It's quite evident to see how liquid corrodes the traces which are high current, like this inductive feedback for the clicking of the trackpad. So let's take it out and make sure that we cleanse, because we had so many cases where these traces were corroded. So disconnect from here and see if it damaged any traces. Hopefully it didn't. Alright, so you can see how it start corroding a little bit the traces here, but it's not that bad. We should still have a contact point there. Can you imagine this liquid damaged Mac was used only for a day after there was a liquid damage? This customer was so lucky. You can see how the corrosion started eating this part of the trace and this part of the trace, but we still have a connection between here and here and here and here. So we don't need to replace the whole trackpad for that, or run a jumper wire as we did once. You can check it in one of our previous videos. So yeah, it just shows how sensitive liquid damage Macs can be, and how important it is to be treated as early as possible after the liquid spill. Liquid damage repair is really case-to-case basis and can differ greatly between cases, all depending on where the liquid landed, which is impossible to know until it's been taken apart. Like this liquid damage was landed on the keyboard, which is quite normal, but managed to stop at a trackpad level and at the backlight level. So we don't need to do any logic board repair. It's basically cleaning job. If any of these components falls off as we clean, that transitions it into a logic board repair case, because we will have to replace that component and create any traces which are needed. Yesterday, for example, we were working on a similar 13-inch 2020 MacBook Air, and there was a liquid in this area. As we were cleaning it, one of these components fell off. Unfortunately, we cannot trace this ones easily because there's no schematic for this, and we had to replace the whole trackpad, which cannot easily another $200 to the job. We mentioned it in one of our previous repairs as well, but the main reason why trackpad is the first one which goes down is because of these grooves here. So when liquid comes, it kind of creates a little puddle in which component sits, because they are underneath the trackpad. So let's wipe it and clean it nicely to make sure that there is no organic materials or residue left here. Yeah, you can see over here, once we start removing that oxidation, all these components are, you can see how the legs of those components are getting quite exposed from that corrosion, and whatever component is about to fall, it's going to fall off now, then we'll have to replace it. Again, same situation with this one. We don't have the schematics for this board, so if a component falls off, we need to find either a donor board like this, which by then we'll have to replace the whole board, or a donor board from where we can take resistor or capacitor off and basically solder it here. Again, the reason why we usually tell our customers be careful with DIY. We are supportive of DIY repairs, but if you knock off a component by accident and you lose that component because they're very small, you can see almost not visible to a human eye, it might be quite hard for us to find that component, which will reduce the chance of a successful repair. We just want to make sure that we get rid of that layer of oxidation. And here's the difference. After the clean, there's no more oxidation standing there. So let's hope that this chip hasn't short-circuited and we don't need to replace this whole board here. Alright, trackpad goes back. Almost every time when there's a liquid damage, the charging connector also gets exposed to liquid. So that's another part which we regularly clean. Let's have a look under the microscope how it looks like. Yeah, there you go. So this can create easily charging issues. You can see it's only on one side. So we need to make sure that this connecting points over here are well cleaned and looked after. And after cleaning, that's how they look like, perfectly clean. Charging port is ready, connected back. Let's fire it up and see if the keyboard is happy. Okay, turn it on, which is expected. There was no liquid damage on the logic board. We'll just cover customer's details. Type. No. Fortunately, we will require. Let's try to replace this board here first before we commit to a full keyboard replacement. So hopefully, it's only this board which has failed. So this board is glued here with a double-sided tape. Let's see if we can source another one. Okay, we got our spare board, so let's connect and test. Okay, you can see keyboard is typing. Caps lock is back. Alright, so we figured out that the board is gone. But if we look closely, we have a missing component here. Okay, what we see in here is that over here we're missing a resistor. So this resistor, if you remember, there was a big oxidation patch here which was covering this whole area. And that's what I meant earlier, that if we leave that residue stay there for long, it starts eating the connection points between the components and the board, which then with cleaning might easily knock off a component. So you can see these components are now sturdy, so they don't move because we already cleaned and made sure that there's no residue left underneath. But this resistor probably was a pull-up or pull-down resistor, providing most likely power or whatever for this chip. Unfortunately, we don't have the schematic, so we can't figure out how exactly it works. But we measured this one being a 10K resistor, so we'll just pull one 10K resistor, put it here, and we will see if it's going to resolve the power issues with this part, with this chip. Okay, so let's prepare those pads to accommodate the new resistor. Because there was oxidation there, it's quite hard to thin copper which had oxidation layer on top, even if it was scrubbed out. But we get in there. That should be it.
Alright, so a little resistor has been soldered, battery connected. Let's see if we're gonna get keyboard responsiveness back. Fire it up. Right, user account. Fire up. There you go. Keyboard's typing. Awesome. We managed to repair it without needing to replace that little board, which saved customer probably about $200. Considering that this is a student, so we also gave them a discount to be able to help as much as we can. And yeah, most importantly, keyboard is okay. So we're gonna quickly log into the system and test the keyboard. Everything else is all right. We are charging properly, and this is pretty much a completed case. There you go, another successfully repaired MacBook Pro, which came to us with a liquid damage and keyboard not functioning after the spillage. So what we did is basically, rather than replacing this little control room board, we replaced only one little component which fell off from it after the corrosion, and cleaned up the trackpad. So depending on the extent of the liquid damage, it's very important to act on it as quick as possible, because if this customer had keep using it further after the liquid damage, most likely she would have completely lost trackpad capabilities, which then would have required a whole trackpad replacement, particularly the haptic creaking part of it, because we saw quite of a corrosion in those tracks. Thank you guys for watching, and if you need the service and you guys around us, give us a call. If you like this content, like and subscribe. And if you have a comment or question, drop it in the comment section below. We cover lots of MacBook liquid damage content, so you can check on our other videos on our social media. And if you need the service, you know where to find us. Take care.